interview and get ready to hire somebody.
That's what I thought, because I read in the minutes of this Board of Ed that they had given your treasurers, or whatever you call her, signatory power until you found a new. So
Says
that
July
was just
first,
for,
this next Thursday, the 26th, they'll bring it in front of the regional council, they'll approve it, and it goes in front of the state board in July.
well,
And,
very good.
there's, we talked about that the other day when I was down there.
It was advertised differently though, and we kept thinking, how could they make the decision to give them the job before the research committee ever even talked about it? It's not kosher.
No. It was never even
You
considered.
mean that's the first thing, Philip,
I
that
know.
you've seen that's not kosher?
No, you know me. But it isn't kosher, they shouldn't do that. Where's Tommy? He was at the 4-H banquet.
I don't know, he may be taking a detour around that road
Well,
too.
he could.
It's just down six.
He didn't call her and he said, when they'll do this.
Now, the banquet's probably lasting a little longer than what he thought it was, I'd say. Once he knew he was in charge, he got right into it.
There he is.
Fashion dealer. Take a detour.
Well, you drive clear up, and then all of a sudden the roads are closed, and then you gotta try to back and turn,
He's used this excuse
Yeah.
before. You know.
drive halfway around the
He uses this every
I
day.
tried to flag some people, I think they just thought I was friendly. Well, we're all here now and accounted for. Misty, would you lead us in the pledge this evening? I'd like to call the meeting to order first. We're all here and present, and Misty will now lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the superintendent's report.
I put that on there, I'd sent you some information earlier, just in case anybody had any follow-up they needed, or if they had any questions on what was in there. And I don't know if Carl wanted to discuss that or not.
No, he didn't want to discuss it, did you?
No.
I was still waiting for that. You said you had that, where we were supposed to do the little things and the main things were there. I was still waiting on that. You haven't sent me yet.
Which is that, Phyllis?
When we were discussing what we were going to send down with our budget, and I said, they never told us what we were supposed to do and what we weren't supposed to take out with the budget. And you said you would send me a copy of it.
Oh, that was what was in the minutes. That was the footnote at the bottom of the minutes last week.
You can see the footnote.
It should be on your
Just said
minutes.
footnote.
It's on your minutes. The asterisk with the footnote on it. That's what was
I
taken
know it
right.
says in the minutes. it
Yeah,
says
that was taken right out of the MOU.
I'm looking for that one.
Find it?
Not yet, I probably will here in a minute. Did you see it? Did you see it? I didn't get that.
No, it's,
You said it was in the minutes.
no, this is what I thought we voted on.
Oh, it is, but he said he put it in the minutes, and I didn't see it in the minutes.
It's not in the minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. It's not in the
Yeah,
minutes.
it's not in the minutes.
All I saw was that we approved the thing with footnotes, but I didn't see anything in there. Oh, that's the attachment that you sent to me, but that's not what he's talking about.
If you look at the bottom of the minutes from May 29,
That's not May 29.
and if you look up under budget, there's an asterisk after the first sentence.
We have no-
Budget with footnote.
Okay, hold on just a minute, I'm looking.
Find it?
I found the footnotes, the state superintendent's footnote, but it doesn't say we were supposed to do the minor finances things and the major things was left to them. That's what I had been saying.
That's the language that's in the MOU.
No, it's not the language was used up there, and that's what I was looking for. That's the reason I said it wasn't there. Because
Yeah.
I said I'd never received that had the language in it, and it doesn't say that. It says the state superintendent of schools shall maintain control over the personnel actions of the county and all facilities, including financials related to pursuant to the Code 18-2E. And it gives the other strategic plan for improvement be developed and address finding, but it doesn't tell us what we're in charge of, and that's what I was trying to find.
We spoke, what, 2 hours about this?
Yes,
And we came to the conclusion to pass this motion. The motion was ignored. The footnote did not address the motion. And it just bore the same what we put up with for 3 years.
Well, Carl, what I indicated I was going to do was put in the
That's all I'm gonna say.
minutes what was in the MOU, and that's exactly what's in the
Okay,
MOU.
why even discuss issues and pass motions if the board is completely ignored?
Well, that wasn't the case, that was not.
Well,
the
it was
case.
the
it was,
case. Huh?
all I asked you was to tell me why I didn't see that, and everybody said, oh, yes, it was in there, and it's still, I haven't seen it yet, and it's not
Let's
in
move
there.
on, let's move on.
That's all I wanted, was the thing.
Okay, well, let's move on then to item 4 on the agenda, board reports. Risa, I will have to report that I was not at the May 15th meeting. I was in Portland, Indiana, trading gas engines. We will have minutes of that meeting available to us. Okay, Mrs. Stark at Gilmer Calhoun Career Center.
All right, the Calhoun Gilmer Administrative Council met May 20th at 11 a.m. Ms. Kelly Weitzel is the principal at the Calhoun Middle High School, sub for the interim superintendent, which is Superintendent Dan Mitz. There is another superintendent now, I think he's Woodward, Mr. Blankenship,
Yes.
Tim.
Mhm.
But the minutes were approved. Mr. Blankenship called the meeting to order as president. In reports, we had an articulate credit edge summary, and the articulate agreements are being updated with Glenville State and West Virginia Pierpoint. The West Virginia Pierpoint agreement is out of date, along with mostly it, but Glenville State has a little. We have 16 areas at Glenville State and 10 at Pierpont. We are hoping to get more than that with West Virginia University. Natural resources, online criminal justice, robotics, ProStart, health occupation, just to name a few of the things that we have. We have one little, I think I gave you this one that gave all the Pierpoint and things, the ones that we had, that they had. The number 2 was the current SBA project. We had 8 contractors to bid May the 8th on the SBA project. Joyce Vandergood from SBA and Dan Walmart is on schedule for the August 1st goals that they're going to discuss. Our water project with the PSD, we're still hoping, it's still listed, and we're still hopeful that we can get that project. It's 3 miles to run a water from our county line to the center, which we need desperately. We're always in trouble with testing of the water, and that's what we need it for. 3 was the math English teaching, the career tech ed, and we were trying to get an English and math teacher, and it has been posted. A discussion was held on the position. Mr. Stearns noted that Dr. Nash and Glendon Birch from the Malta County Center, Career Center, discussed a no credit for the first year. They don't want us to take a credit for this first year. That we need other articulated credits, different than the regular math and English, they feel. The math would have 2 credits, math 3 and 4, and the other would be English 11 and 12. Kelly Whitesell, the principal, thought it may be a struggle for Calhoun to get this installed right at this time because they don't have the tech centers at work. Gilmer County High Schools does have the tech center at work, and they're going to work on that. But Calhoun is thinking about literary design and math to place in theirs, but they really need to get that put in. The state will offer in-service this summer, and it is a non-negotiable thing. They have to be there. And we need to get our policies in line, and we need to start writing in the next 2 weeks to get those policies in. Mrs. Weitzel noted that the basic will only assist in labs. In other words, our math and English teacher will go in and assist in the labs only for the first year before they start anything else. And we are hopeful that we get a math and English teacher, but you know, that's a little shaky. We need the embedded credit policies written up. Digital imaging is at the state level, and robotics is needs to sign credits, at least 3 credits, if we're going to do robotics. Some of you all saw the robotics down there, and it's fantastic, and the children love it. And we do remarkably well at all the state events. Jason Hughes is our state representative. He's a wonderful young man. He's just as nice as he can be. He recommended that the teachers need to take to watching the magnet schools in this career center. That way we focus on looking at what's on the ground now instead of waiting and going to it later. We had an LEA plan or local plan for 2014 and 2015. Mr. Stern presented this plan, and we had just a minor change in it. But Mr. Armour has the copy of the plan. If anyone would like to discuss that, and he will probably discuss it with you, he is replacing me tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the Career Center because I can't go. It's my first time I've ever missed one. And under the new business, all financial matters were approved. The proposed budget for fiscal year 15, Mr. Minnie, he is their CSBO down at Calhoun. Calhoun does all of our work for us, and we pay him $3,000 a year to do that, our statements and things, and his contract is up, and Carl will tell you about the next time what they decided to do with it. And noted the center is financially secure. The budget was approved unanimously. However, the PEIA is down by $134,000. State aid is also down. But we are still in good shape down at the Career Center. That's something we have. The posting for personnel for the English and math job, Mr. Stern asked for an extension of 10 days, just in case we don't have takers, and he can extend it 10 more days to get the English and math. We're all getting closer and closer to school being out and the next school coming on. The school calendars, Carl has one school calendar for Calhoun, one school calendar for Gilmer County. We accepted the Gilmer County one. Mr. Blankenship had already put it to the state. There was one section in it that I didn't like, and that was the 4 days in March. I'm going to let Mr. Blankenship explain that we did pass it with a provision of those things, and he can explain to you what he's supposed to do with the OS days at the end of that.
I take a look at your calendar. You asking about the...
This provision that we passed this with the provision that the OS days at the end of March, we didn't like the 4-day week for children. We need 5 days. And because Calhoun's was different than ours, they wanted 5 days. They had different things that we did, and they hadn't sent theirs yet to the state. We had sent ours. We agreed to the Gilmer County calendar with the provision that those OS days would be converted to snow days at the end of the school year.
Well, not actually converted to snow days, Phyllis. The OS days will be converted to instructional days.
Well,
In other words,
if they're not used.
well,
yes.
even if you don't use them. In other words, if we don't have any snow days,
That's what I wanted
then
you to
they'll
say.
still be converted. They're still going to be instructional days, so you still have 5 days of
That's,
instruction.
now that's
for
why I
all
wanted
6 of
him to
the OS
explain it,
days.
because we did have a problem with it.
Say that again, one more time, so you write it down.
All the OS days will be converted to instructional days, even if not needed for snow days,
For snow days.
for inclement weather.
So that'll take care of the 4 days that she's referring
That's
to
We'll
in
actually take
March.
all care of 6 of the OS days.
6 of the OS days.
And they're in March and April.
That's the reason I wanted him to explain it to me, because I was afraid I'd get it wrong.
So there's not gonna be 4 days in a school week in
No.
March
No.
or April? Okay,
That was
because
the
that's gonna
condition
really
we
set
passed
them back if they have that long of a standoff.
Yeah, well,
on a
probably
Friday.
what'll happen if we had the same bad weather we had this year, they're gonna be converted anyway, but
Mhm.
we went ahead and said that
That's what.
regardless of whether they're needed for conversion or not, we're still gonna go ahead and convert them and make an instructional day.
That's right.
Right. And we always have the
And we'll
option
put
to
it-
alter the
We
calendar
have
too,
left
I
Yes.
believe.
Day, kids can
Yes.
get out sooner.
Yes.
Right, isn't that it?
Yeah, for each of, what you actually do is, when you use those days, you take the days off the end of the year, so kids will actually get off 6 days
6
earlier
days early.
than what's reflected on there.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I really picked up when we had our meeting down there was the set of data for work keys. When you go down there, does the group discuss that very much, the scores or work keys?
Oh, my, yes.
Have you, before you leave us, could you tell us what's been identified as an opportunity for us to improve the scores?
Well, each teacher goes together, I gave you a survey.
Right, you did.
That actually, Mr. Like, you remember the survey we got for each one of the teachers? And in that survey, you've got the survey, I gave it to you, where they tell how they're going to improve. Each one of the teachers are gonna improve. Not only do they do that, they go together and they make grants. Every one of the
Right.
teachers have grants, and then they come together as a faculty and vote on which grant they're going to do. This way, with a new teacher in, we were afraid that if, none of these teachers have English and math, they're not English and math teachers. They're automotive people, they're different people like that, and their fields are not there. We were afraid they're gonna say, hey, I don't know anything about this, you know. So what they did, they're going to help the math and English teacher and tell them what they think their students are going to need in the survey, and they
Okay.
gave it. And then they'll turn around and the English and math teacher will go into the lab and they will help them do each one of those things. Isn't that your understanding of it?
Yes, that's part of it.
Okay.
The English and math people will actually be used to help better the scores, help bring those students up in both the math and the reading areas.
Yeah, so they'll be integrated into the labs like she's talking
Yes.
about to offer.
Yeah, and more than likely, they'll be dual credit in most cases.
Is there anything we can do proactive to prepare the students better before they go to the center?
Oh, but definitely at the high school.
Yeah, that's my point too, is that we're jumping into the middle of a problem that has already gone down the road too far. You can teach them to do basic math and English much earlier, and you won't have that problem at that level. So I think what it says to us is that we've got a problem, a systemic problem. It's not just the vocational center and those workforce groups. And I'm talking to people who are hiring graduates of VOTEC centers and high schools, and they say they can't do enough math, you know, to take blueprints and transfer that to metal or wood or whatever, and they can't write a complete sentence, and they can't read the material. And that doesn't speak well for any of us. And it's just not Gilmer County, it's throughout the state of West Virginia.
High school. Our problem here is, Mr. Simmons, is the fact that when our students from the Calhoun, and keep in mind, this is what I always say, these are our students down there. Whether they're Calhoun students or Gilmer students, they are our students. And that's the way our administrative council looks at it. We show no difference. We're not here to come back, you know, we're better in Calhoun, Calhoun's not as good as we are, so and so. These are our kids, and we want them all to succeed, and that's the way we look at it. But once those students are sent down to us in 11th and 12th grades, and we have a sprinkling before that, these teachers assumed, and you know, you make an ass out of you and me if you break that word down, that they already know their English and math. Well, they went, that's our problem down there with word keys, as Carl's talking about. Then we decided, at one time at the VOTEC school, we had English and math at the VOTEC school, full. Then they decided, the state decided, no, you didn't need that, we didn't have enough money, they took them out. Now we're just trying to get a little part-time to help our students, because hands-on, they're magnificent. Our kids, they run every title that you come and going, and, you know, in the Skills USA. They really do well. But they have this problem, and that's the problem we're trying to take care of. So the survey that Carl will report on the next time for you, I didn't tonight for the residents for tomorrow's meeting. And they'll discuss all of it down there, and he can tell you what the teachers did their own surveys of what they thought they could do to help each and every child. But their problem is that they should have this before they get down there, and they don't have it before they get down there.
How many years have we known about this?
Oh, that's just a regular thing.
It's been going on for years now,
Oh, it's going on for years and years everywhere.
and we've done nothing about it.
The biggest problem that we have down there, our guidance counselors that come out of college or come out from anywhere, they don't have any training as career, you know, people to help the career-centered children to know what they're going to do. They have no training in it. The colleges, that's the biggest thing they need to take. So we started having little seminars with the guidance counselor, say, hey, this is what our kids have to have. But all that should be done at the college level, not, you know, here. Those guidance counselors should come into each high school knowing that this is part of a high school counselor's job, is to also go down to the Fair Center and make sure the kids that are not going to be college bound are going to be the people that we need to help. They don't do that in college. We are very, very poor there. And that's something the state's going to have to take care of, and maybe Reese, but
But when these
somebody,
kids though get down there, Phyllis, in the 10th grade,
somebody,
my goodness.
somebody.
Yeah, at that time, they should have had basic math, and they should have enough reading skills to know how to write sentences, and,
Mr.
you know, somewhere before the 10th, 9th, 7th,
I
8th
agree
grade,
with you.
somewhere there we're failing.
But you know, Tommy, this same thing happened when I had you in school, and there was kids in the class that did
Yeah.
not have IQ and things that the other kids had.
Yeah.
And no matter how hard you try, you're not going to change their IQ. So what we have to do is find hands-on and other ways in which to bring them into the workforce. And the other is that some of them are just not learning.
But Phyllis, we go to these meetings that major executives come and talk to us. They're talking about, am I correct, 8th and 9th grade level
Yes.
math and reading. That's what,
Sure,
if they
if
can
you
do that.
have a mastery of 8th grade math, and if you can write and read on the 8th grade level, that takes most people through. You know, I have had 7th graders who were, Phyllis, like you're talking about, they did not have the
They
ability
don't have
to write sentences. And when I got the principal to agree to let me throw away the instruction manual, and I taught them to read the newspaper, to
sixth
read
grade.
letters
I
that
did
they
too.
got, and to respond to correspondence, because they were not going. I would do adverbs all week long. On Friday, they knew it. On Monday, you come in and ask, and there wasn't a soul in the room that knew what an adverb was.
I'm surprised
And so
they
that
knew
was
the
really
adverb.
wasted time for us to spend that kind of time, and where they were going to live, they were going to be getting correspondence, they were going to be getting magazines and newspapers, and to be able to do with what they had is what we wound up doing. But I think we've got a broad group of students that we're not being difficult enough in our demands early on. And I know it's easier to give a student a higher grade than really what he earns, because you don't get complaints about that. And we do that over and over, and the student pays the penalty for it. Whether they go to the VOTEC Center, or whether they go on through high school or try to go to college or whatever.
I think the community would be absolutely outraged if those work keys tests, and seen in some categories a 60% failure rate.
Well, you come up here and look at them. The whole point is what I'm saying, mostly what they've been doing over the years, and you know, I had been a special education teacher for years here at this high school. I tried to get them to the 6th grade level, reading the newspaper and stuff. They come in with the 1st grade reading. 1st grade. There's not much you can do, just get them as hard as you could go. No parties, we gotta learn, type of thing. But what I'm saying to you is, most of the students that have in the past been sent to the VOTEC school are the students that weren't going to college, that didn't have the ability to do the work and so on. So now, the Career Center is coming in and taking the better students. And now you're seeing the comparison between the better students and the students that their IQs are not up to that range. You're seeing the difference. You're always going to see that because everybody's different. We have poor children that don't have intelligence. We've got others that are very highly intelligent. But in the past, they've never went to the VOTEC school.
Yeah.
Now they're going to the VOTEC
And
school.
I'll tell you, if we got kids that are looking far enough in advance, a lot more of them are gonna go to the.
That's right.
That's what we're trying for right there.
Yeah.
That is
That's what we are after, is getting all the students. We don't want to leave these others behind, but we want to make sure every child comes down there has the ability to do something. Whether they have the ability, they don't have ability to philology, for instance. That's a new one we have. Your daughter's there. I mean, we have kids like that now that we're so proud of, and we're winning. We're much better. We're the smallest tech school in the state. Yet we win more USA skills medals than any other career center.
Well, I know I've asked this before, but Phyllis, one of the things we talk about at the state level, and it fits in with what you're saying, we want a seamless path from our vocational and technical centers through into the community and technical college system. Do you see that developing with the VOTEC
They are
center?
developing at the VOTEC school, that very thing, the pathway, trying to get them brought in. And even those students that's falling behind and losing a credit, we're bringing them down there and finding a way to make that credit up and try to help them and bring them on that pathway and keep them and bring them with their own classes and things.
Do you have representatives from the community college that attend your advisory council
All the
meetings?
time. We have, you'd be surprised at the number. And we've got a fantastic staff down there. They just work like you wouldn't believe.
What's it gonna take for I know they're in the beginning stages of getting a lot of this, is it gonna take money, grant money to get it launched? Is it coming down to that?
It's coming down to the problem, we don't have any money in VOTEC schools.
Right.
$37,000, and that's their donation, and what we get from VOTEC and so on is all. We just don't have the money to get the people that we really actually need. Now, we just started the new natural resource, and we need a lot more to get it started and so on. But the state only allows you so much money. And we're a dual school two small counties trying to make up money that we don't have. So we have to go with whatever the majority can take and things. But they're working terribly hard to do what they have to do. Anyway, in our general discussion, Mr. Stern reported that the lift in the auto lab failed inspection. Well, all of you know you don't have an auto lab without a lift. You have to have one because it wasn't bolted down properly and it was old. So what happened there, they're trying to get a $20,000 grant from the state to replace the lift. Mr. Snyder, who is our automotive instructor, has applied for a $20,000 grant for a computerized scanner, which they need. They really need it. But because he needs the lift more, he has changed his grant, and he was given the grant by the rest of the faculty. They push this over and say this is more important. And he's going to now try to get his $20,000 for the lift that he has. Mr. Stern reported that the senior day and the awards day went great. Some of us were there. You couldn't have asked for better. Our meeting will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. And you, Mr. Devano, we'd love to have you. Carl's replaced me, first time in 4 years, but the folk festival's on and I've got my family coming. I can't make it there. So everybody's invited, they know they are, and I hope that you'll come down and Carl's gonna take over.
I have an objection there, the word replacement, no one can replace you fellas.
That's what you're gonna do, though, you better do
Well,
it.
that decision will be made, it will do it out here.
Mr.
I'll be there
Blankenship,
tomorrow.
was there anything I missed?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, let's move on then to new business, item 5 and A, minutes, May 19th, May 29th. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Point of order. I assume that dies the lack of a motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right, B, budget supplements and transfers.
I move that we approve the supplements and transfers that we are in charge of and that we, by the state board permission, can do. We were supposed to get a list so far, I haven't seen the list.
Okay, all right.
Only that, then that way
Okay.
in my motion, please.
You've heard Phyllis's motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
You do.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
All right. Now, can we get that motion written down, kind of the past? We do it verbally, and then we don't see what we said.
You're approving that part of the supplements and transfers for which we have authority.
That's
good.
exactly
Thank you,
correct.
sir.
Okay. All right, C, accounts payable.
I noticed the budget this time, the information is divided in two parts. One part is items for which checks have already been written, roughly 16 grand, and then the other one is part checks to be written. And it's over $100,000.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve so we can get into discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, now, we have a motion and a second. Now, any further discussion on this item?
I have a question on accounts payable dated 5/28/14. It was in that batch, it was $15,652.12. That was the bulk batch, but the one in particular that I was looking at was $683.77, and the description said blanket purchase order. You know, in the past, that's something that the OPA had faulted us for was blanket purchase orders. In a description, it should set out what the purchase order was for.
Who uses it to?
It's Singapore Elementary, Amazon, and it totals $683.77. I would just ask that if the board, it's the pleasure of the board to approve that be broke out with a description. Because in the past, that has been something that we have been cited for as blanket
Yes.
without a description.
Yes, we have.
Amazon will be instructional supplies.
Yeah, it needs to be broken
Those are
out as
books.
such, it needs to be broken out as such, though. I mean, blanket purchase order, you can buy a lot of things from Amazon. So it needs to be broken out.
Okay?
And since we're in discussion, I noticed one entry in there was for Williams and Shriver for the high school. I just have a question. What's Williams and Shriver doing at the high school?
The wall.
That was something that I saw, was did the insurance pay for that? What, did the truck hit the gym wall, or did it hit the classroom wall where the students were sitting?
The outside wall, and the students' insurance paid for it.
That's, we're talking about the gymnasium, it says gymnasium, I believe, and that's what was confusing.
It's the wall, the back wall here.
So it was the gymnasium that the truck hit, not the
No,
classroom?
it was a classroom,
It was a vocational.
vocation, yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that, you're calling that the gym?
No, I didn't call it you there.
But it was in there, it said gym, that's the reason I.
Well, that's, it's that, and also we're checking the structural integrity.
That's what I'm talking about, the
Yeah.
structural integrity of the gym wall.
Yes.
Okay.
As a result of that impact, is that what it is?
No, there was a crack back there. We wanted to make sure
Oh,
that
now
it
there we
was
go.
safe.
It
Okay.
wasn't resulting from the
No,
the
that wasn't.
vehicle. That's what I was asking you.
It's actually two separate things.
Okay, we didn't know about the other one. Maybe I just didn't know about it. Maybe somebody else did.
When I see, I've seen the last 3 years, many entries for Pomeroy. And Mr. Blankenship sent information, said that Pomeroy has a contract through the state, or they're a recommended vendor.
Yes.
Is it absolutely required, do we have to buy for Pomeroy, or can we ask local business people to bid on, just like one thing I'm looking at right here is vendor number 91752. It's Pomeroy, and it's 2284. Is it absolutely required that we have to deal with Pomeroy, or can we go to local business people and say,
If you
Give you a
use,
chance.
if you use your Tools for Schools money, which the state gives you,
like,
then it's got to be from the state contract, which is Pomeroy.
Pomeroy's not the only contractor they have, though. I got the impression that said Pomeroy was it.
Well, it is.
Only person that does
It
not.
is for most of your computers and printers.
I
and
know,
things like
but
that.
it isn't. There's IBM, there's others that you can go to for that too.
Yes, but it has to be state
Yeah,
contract.
because Pomeroy was the one that put in all of our wiring, got it wrong, and, you know, it just bothers me that we have to continue to buy from them. Because they're state, you know. purchase
Okay,
order.
any more discussion on this particular agenda item? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Same thing,
Okay,
same thing. Only those that we could pass.
right,
Oh, yes, only
Right.
those we have
Same thing.
authority for.
okay. All right, motion passes then with the same stipulation, only those items for which we have authority.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, D, policies for approval.
I have a question, if we have to make a motion, to
Let
discuss.
me make a motion, someone
Okay.
said, and I've got
We have-
discussion too.
Motion for approval.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Any discussion now on the motion?
These policies, when you sit down and try to go through them, it's just almost overwhelming. And my question when I try to read them, and my attention span isn't very long when I do something like this, do we have any policies at all that are in variance with other counties? The reason I ask that question, if big counties that are highly successful like Mon, and they have the same policies, that would indicate to me, well, what works in Mon should work for here, and maybe we shouldn't spend hours and hours trying to digest everywhere. So do we have any policies that are in variance with any of the other counties that have good education systems?
Oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, you have one policy that came from, I think Randolph County, the drug testing for students.
Mhm.
That's identical to one that they have at Randolph County.
It would be really helpful to me if we were to flag the ones that are just unique to this county. Because
I don't know if we do have any that's unique to this county, Carl.
that was my question.
Mr. Bailey
Right.
actually wrote the policy manual for us.
Right.
And,
Yeah, that was my
you
question.
know, those have been out, and we've received very few comments. In fact, I think you made comments, and I don't know if we've gotten many more comments on any of the policies we've had out
Yeah.
on comment.
Well, I have, you know, I went and I made a conscious effort and to get through the whole entire list. But if I'm being completely honest with every board member here, I did not succeed in getting that done before tonight. And that's just the honest to God's truth.
No, I didn't either.
I got through probably half of them, and in that half that I got through, I'm not saying that there isn't some really great policies here. A lot of them I had to read 3 times to fully digest, but there are some here that I don't know how we're going to be able to enforce part of these. Well, and there's some errors in some of them, and I know it could just be human error. You know, one policy, it's a formulation of policy. It says that you can review our policies on the Grant County website for 10 days, they're posted. So there's little things like that that refer people to check our policies on the Grant County website.
Well,
So,
maybe the new superintendent can go through there
And
and
so-
debug it.
and so, you know, little things like that, and that's just minor things, and that's just human error. And then like the discrimination of grievance procedure, there's a great deal of blanks. You know, when you're talking about where a grievance is to be filed, how is the procedure, there's a lot of fill in the blanks. And I think, you know, policy, you know,
That shouldn't have been on, there shouldn't have been anything like that.
well, I have them here.
Uh,
And I'd be
It's there.
happy to share them with you, the ones that I've been able to get through.
If you would send those.
But, yeah, and, you know, I was looking at policies right up to the minute I drove here. And then there's another policy with the elementary basketball and cheerleading program where it states that, you know, from what I'm reading, if I'm understanding it correctly, that the kids, if there is enough children to have basketball, well, they will have it at their individual schools, providing there's enough kids to make up a team. And it could be co-ed teams, and that they would not really have what you call regular scheduled basketball schedules, that they would play 3 Saturdays at the end of a clinical session. And that parents would be responsible for transportation to the clinicals and to tournaments and things like that. You know, that's going to rule out the biggest part of our rural communities. You know, kids at Rosedale, you know, depend on that bus to be able to take them to participate in games and tournaments. And, you know, our excess levy, the voters voted to support that
Well,
excess levy.
if they were to go outside the county, I don't see a reason that you still wouldn't use the same process. What the principals are trying to do there is to eliminate a lot of the stuff that's going on now and actually teach the children fundamentals.
Yeah, but you
That's
understand
not
that's
what
gonna
we're there
rule
for.
out a good portion of the kids that are able to participate. If there's a shortage of amount of kids at one school, the way the policy reads is, you know, if there's kids enough to form a team, then that school will have a team. What if there's not? If there's not, then the closest area for them to come would probably be Glenville. How many kids is gonna be able to participate in that?
Well, we've had that happen before. We've had times when we didn't have enough to put a team on the floor.
I've known teams to have teams ever since I've been in school, in elementary school, to have a team. I mean, I have never known, as long as we've had the elementary schools, for a team not to have a team. And it really bothers me, the fact that the policy is written in such a way is that we're kind of overstepping what the voters have already approved to pay for. They help pay, their tax dollars pay for that excess levy, and we're saying we're no longer gonna transport kids by way of bus, it's on the parents.
No, that's not what that's saying.
Well, in this one section of the policy, it just says, it right here, plain and simple, that the transportation, parents and guardians are responsible for providing transportation, arranging transportations for participants to all sessions, clinics, and games.
That's what it
I think we're
says.
talking about Saturdays there.
That's the only time they're gonna have it by the policy.
No, they're gonna be on during the week.
I understand getting them
Mhm.
to their practices. Every parent known to man has always took their kids to practices, but what I'm talking about is games and things like that
Yeah.
that are being
That's not what that intended. If
Well,
it
that's
needs to
what
be
it
clar-
says.
If it needs to be clarified, then we need to.
it needs to be in black and white.
Yeah, we need to get things more formal, more specific. black
I
and white.
think the
Is there a
problem-
motion on the
I
floor?
interpret
Yeah, it's
that.
already.
There is a
very
motion on the floor,
Yeah,
yes.
Yes, there is.
Um,
I'll tell you, the whole problem here that I can see for, 6 years, I've been asking to have a workshop in policies. She can vouch for me. Every year, you've heard me say it 100 times. What happened here, this is all sent down to Charleston and said, make all these policies. And then they're throwing back to us all in one day. And we had no say in any of these policies, actually say, because we got a great, well, how many, 88, I
It's
think.
over 100.
Oh, it was 88 that we got to that one time. And they were all put on us and said, here's the policies, here's what we paid for them. And we're thinking, why didn't they go get the policies from others, let us look at them, and we could have done them ourselves, and it wouldn't have cost us this outrageous sum of money that we
That's the reason
paid.
I brought the question.
Pay, but the whole point is, we got all of these in a lump sum. I think there were April 24th, I believe, was, how many of them? We're all on April 24th and so on. What we're used to doing with the policies, having each one of them come in 2 or 3 at a time, so we have a chance to even look at them. But most of those policies, if you're actually looking, will not come to our county as small as our county is. And because they've just threw them all at us and says, now, pass these policies. In the first place, they repealed every policy we had. Why in the world would you repeal a policy that was made by the state code? And to begin with, all of it. Usually you take the policy and you strike the parts of the policies that you don't want. But you don't take out the codes and everything, and they repealed every policy we had. There for a long time, we didn't even have any policies. They were all
Well,
repealed.
Phyllis, that's why there is the Full Employment Act for attorneys. Attorneys understand this. The average board person or average principal or superintendent, or no one knows all the details of all these policies. When a situation comes up, you refer to a policy that you think would apply to this. And it was true in higher education also. We didn't have any idea what all of our policies dictated. But when you get a grievance over a position, then you have to go to those policies. If you have a problem with athletics, you go
Bill,
to
I'm
those
quite
policies.
aware of that. I've been on the board for 12 years. But we used those policies. We could seek those policies, and God help us, every one of us knew what the policies, that's what she's trying to tell you. We read the policies. We know what the policies said. They're state law. You have to know what the policy is. Bowles and Rice every year trains us in every new policies. Isn't that correct? Every new policies, the board is trained in every new policies. We took every policy we had and threw them out and repealed them all and then threw them back at us. And most of those policies do not apply to our small county. That's why we have to look at them and say, hey, this doesn't belong in our county. It doesn't work with our county. It may work with another, it doesn't work with ours.
Looks to me like there are two types of policies. Ones that apply
Mr.
across the board in every county in the state of West
Right.
Virginia.
I
And then
agree.
policies are unique to this county.
That's right.
Okay,
So that's the
Ms.
reason I asked the question.
I have one more question. Of the policies that I was able to get through, on the local school accounting policies and procedures, it talks about, and I also have it here, charge privileges for school meals. And then it says, the elementary school, a student is allowed to charge no more than 3 meals. After the third meal is charged, parents must send money or pay the charges or send meals from home. Now, I'm telling you, as a working mother, and me and my husband work, and we pay our lunch bills and you know, we pay them on time. But that is going to cause such a hardship when people only get paid every 2 weeks to send money every 3 days.
Won't
For
happen
lunch
now
bills.
because we're paying for
Yeah, but it's going to.
Not
it.
at-
It's all free.
Not at the high school level, it isn't,
No,
sir.
the elementary.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the high school, it says meal charging is not permitted at the high school. These are the kinds of things that haphazardly, I don't feel comfortable approving with, you know, I don't feel comfortable approving these kinds of, I'm sure there are good policies, but when they're lumped together to the count of 100 and some policies at one time, no one human being can read 105 policies, I'm sorry, at one time. And that's just the point I'm taking on this. And it is not in any disrespect, because I'm sure someone put a lot of hard work into it, but some of these things, wow, who's gonna stand in line and tell a kid after 3 meals, sorry, who's gonna be the one to enforce that policy when you have a hungry kid coming through the lunch line? Are you on day 3? Did mom send a lunch? I'm telling you, this is gonna be a major problem for the people that have to enforce
Oregon
it.
tried that, didn't work out too well.
Well, children are never refused meals.
Yeah, but the
The
policy,
policy does.
the policy though, it's saying after the 3rd meal,
Yeah.
if the parent don't send something from home, what kind of position is that gonna put your administrator in to sit there at that lunch line and say? I know what I'd say, go right ahead.
You choose whatever number you want there, but children are refused meals.
Right, but I'm saying that's what's in your policy.
That's what's in your
That's what the
policy.
policy says. Okay.
And you have to have a policy, so you choose 3, you choose 6, you choose 9, you know, pick a number.
Well, we've never had a policy on restricting the amount of meals that are charged per child. We haven't had that. Because I have paid the lunch bill on a monthly basis, and I've got a girl that's a junior in high school, and I've never had someone tell me, after 3 meals, Misty, send the money.
Part of the problem is that it's very difficult to collect
I understand
at the
that.
high school level.
I understand
And
that.
if you don't, you lose $1,000 every year.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, any further discussion?
Would somebody restate the motion?
Well, the motion was to approve the policies, and it was seconded. We've had a lot of discussion.
I got one more question.
Vote.
Is that deadline that this has to be approved tonight,
Couldn't be.
or,
We waited all year. Shouldn't be a deadline.
You've got,
you know, I
you
agree
can
with
do that
this, I'm
anytime you
still
want.
going through, and I don't think I even got through half of it.
Yeah, you can do that anytime you want, but at some point, you know, the ones you've gone through, you have that problem with, you probably ought to approve those.
Right, and I don't have a problem with that, but I think that it should be set up in a manner where we have a board workshop where we know, okay, at this board shop, we're gonna look at 10 policies, like Mrs. Starkey
I've
has
asked
talked
over and
about.
over again.
10 policies, they may not be one controversial item at all. We may be in and out of there, give them to us ahead of time, but to give us 100 and some policies at one time, if anyone here is on, and I know all of you is gonna be honest, you haven't all got through them all.
Well, in all fairness, it's been 3 months or more.
Well,
That's the
And I
whole
didn't
point.
say that in an argumentative fashion, it's just,
right.
you get to a point that you have to put something on the board.
I know, but we've been 3 years trying to get it.
Where I am as chair is I'm not sure which policies specifically that we can approve tonight, and which ones that we're not approving. That's a dilemma I see tonight, which ones we are approving and which ones we're not.
I agree with Misty, we've got to have a workshop. I've asked and asked and asked year after year to have one, and that's the only way we're going to get through our policies and know what they are about. But we can't do this many at one time, and I'm sorry, but we've been waiting 3 years, and we've been waiting all year, and then we just dump them on us. It doesn't-
Well, and we all see different things. Misty, I understand, that would not have caught my attention because it doesn't apply to me. But there are parents like you out here that does directly have an impact, or could. You know, if we want to delay this till we've had an opportunity to decide which of these policies we can go ahead and approve and which ones we can't, you know, I'm fine with that. But where we are with our motion, I don't think I'm clear enough in my mind which ones we would be approving and which ones we're not.
Then let's vote.
That's it.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion fails.
So that,
All right,
you're on.
information items, personnel,
We don't have anything, no.
okay. Item 7, board concerns.
I have a couple items. Mr. Blankenship was very kind in providing answers to questions I submitted about the equipment we were purchasing, including he answered about what was being done with, I interpreted to be surplus equipment we weren't using any longer. So I thank him for that. The other thing that I have is I prefer to put things in writing because that's what counts, whether we're talking about policy or whatever. And I send a lot of things by email. This I didn't. And this is just my opinion. We're at a new point in our takeover by the state. We have a new opportunity to proceed. And this is a communication I wrote, and it has to do with critical need for improved communications. And I'm not going to read it all, but it has to do with improved communications to enhance transparency, accountability, and trust. And I brought each member a copy of that, request that this be incorporated into the minutes intact so that Mr. Heinlein can read it, and also Ted Mattern, if he's still the mentor here. And
Can I get a
Mr.
copy
Wano,
of-
you, copy. There you are, sir. Yeah, you give a copy. And I'll give a copy to the board member-elect.
Can I have a
I
copy?
guess since it's public information and part of the record, I'll give it with my signature to Mr. Ramazan. Thank you.
Okay. I have one item. As you know, this past week, the State Board of Education had an agenda item to approve land acquisition for the Cedar Creek Elementary School. And those of you on the board, each one asked me to go on public record expressing the idea that we had not had discussion or input into that particular land purchase. And I did do that. And I simply stated that our concern was that people thought we should know about the details of the purchase, and we didn't know. and that they assumed that we did and we wouldn't share it with them. I had no idea about the details of it, but at any rate, I did what you asked me to do, and I did it in a very non-confrontational way. I simply said that we had not had a chance to express our opinions on it. I didn't say I didn't like the site. In fact, I said it was as centrally located as we could find for the area served. However, there are questions like the price per acre for that location. There was a stipulation there that the seller could harvest timber off that for a long, long time.
Perpetuity, exactly.
Perpetuity. I don't know how a person lives in perpetuity, but at any rate, that was in the agreement. Plus, I felt that it was very important that the county have the minerals. And with oil and gas, with the value that it has, a couple of just shallow gas wells on that 80 acres, think what it would do for that elementary school to provide funds for computers or whatever. And I cited the 3 gas wells that I drilled at the college, and I didn't have a gas bill for years. Those wells made us $500,000 a year. So those were some things that we threw out there. The vote was not taken at that time, of course, and Dr. Armour and I met with Chuck Heinlein at his request, and he explained that they had cleaned up a lot of the things we were concerned about. That timber provision was out and some other things, but the agreement as it was sent there had about 5 glaring errors in it. And at any rate, I did what I thought the right thing to do was, and if someone says, well, Bill Simmons, you paid $5,400 an acre for hillside land, I can say, no, I did not. And this is the responsibility of the state. But I did what I thought was right as your president.
May I add to that? We also discussed the fact that there was a planning foul-up, and the plan is to use all electric instead of natural gas when this area is awash in natural gas. And we pointed out in discussions in Mr. Heinlein's office that the price of electricity may go up 300 or 400% in the next few years. And there's potential with the lifetime of that school, because of the foul-up, to cost this county hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, because we're not using natural gas. So that's on the record down there, and I want people here to understand that we try to represent the county. The decision was made to go ahead and purchase the land anyway, and like Dr. Simmons says, people in the county don't accept that we had nothing to do with this, and they think we're lying to them when we say we did.
Oh, absolutely. I run into it every day. They say, well, you know, here's what you did. And I said, well, no, I really didn't. But they don't believe that. So
No.
It's, you know, it's where it is. And I don't mind. And as I told the board, we know that we didn't have a vote on this. We understood that. But to have an opportunity to discuss it and express our opinions among ourselves, you know, I felt would have been valuable.
Might want to just note for clarification that the timber is by the construction completion, which is 2 years. And the reason that there wasn't any purchase of the mineral rights is that Mr. Reed doesn't own mineral rights. They've already been sold. Or they would
No,
have
he
been
didn't
involved.
ever own them.
May I comment on that? In the original agreement, that the lawyers had to rework in Charleston, they spent 10 days working on what went from here with your signature. Right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that they worked on was the way that thing was written, with the assistance of an attorney, that the timber could have been cut into perpetuity. That's their words. not mine.
That's what Mr. Reed wanted.
Well,
Mrs. DiMarino is the individual writing the deed, and she's working with Mr. Reed. The one we sent down there was the one that everybody agreed on. Was it, no, it's not gonna be perpetuity, it's not gonna be more than 2 years. And the other was the mineral rights issue, and we would love to have had those mineral rights, but he didn't own them.
I'm just saying what we were told. Ms.
The
White.
one
Well,
that,
that's not correct.
Well, that's
the
what we were
one
told.
that I saw on network from the State Board of Education, that they said you gave your reasoning for, said that we were going to send two schools, Sandfork and Normantown, to that school.
No, I didn't say that.
That's,
That was a mistake they made.
that's what I'm saying. These are all things that were put out to the public, that it was gonna be Normantown and Sandfork that were going to be the owner of that school, along with Preparatory T that he's talking about, that it said that you gave those reasons, that we're going to pay him $5,000 an acre because we paid this Lewis County $18,000 an acre, and just this past week, they paid $20,000 an acre for the acres, which is nothing but a landslide. And my problem here is that, and it's my comment, and you, all of you may not agree with this whatsoever, but I'm going to say it. You know, so Starkey always says what she says, and I love you that you know that I say it anyway.
I know you did.
But I would like to request that the Board of Education place on the June agenda a discussion to contact the Attorney General to obtain his opinion through our county prosecuting attorney on the status of our intervention county Board of Education using the following points. 1, under the Constitution of the United States of America and West Virginia Constitution, can an appointed state political board of education take away elected officials' power without following due process under the law? They made me a dysfunctional board member. I'm thinking about wearing a sign, you know, after 40 years in this business. Thus, leaving the voters without representation to apply for their hard-earned taxpayer money that their children need for education. On point 2, can the same State Board of Education withdraw transparency from the voters of Gilmer County when they do not allow their board transparency? 3, is the State Board of Education accountable for use of our county taxes in a proper and prudent way, which doesn't show right now? 4, can a State Board of Education linger in a county with intervention for 10 years without giving the public an accounting of its excesses or errors? And they're in with us for 3 years. And number 5, can the State Board of Education continue to make financial errors that we feel are financial errors that the citizens have to pay for without any oversight of our money whatsoever? These are just a few of the suggestions that the board could take up in the next meeting to see. Attorney General said in the last meeting that I was in, all we had to do was get the prosecuting attorney to ask for his opinion, and all you're asking for is his opinion. I mean, if I'm going to be found guilty of being a dysfunctional board member, when we have $2 million left over, all 5 of our schools made AYP when nobody else in the state can, or did, our level of expulsion was 0, our dropout rate is very low, our absentee rates are very low, and our kids do wonderful in academics, and we can be taken over as an emergency and never given a 6 month of anything. I feel that we have a right to ask the Attorney General's opinion, do we still live in America?
I agree with Phyllis that we have the right to ask.
We have the right to ask.
I don't have an opinion at all about the legalities of the question. We certainly have the right to ask, and citizens of this county have a right to know the answer.
They need to know the answer,
Right.
because we can't give them the answer. Then let the Attorney General ask, and he said at the last meeting that he was the state board attorney. Only our prosecuting attorney could ask the question. We have not asked the prosecuting attorney. Mr. Ramazan, you were there and heard the presentation. I was very nice about it, wasn't I? But I told him, when I was found guilty of being a non-functioning board member, I didn't have a trial. I didn't have any defense. I was not allowed to even defend myself. And I don't think that's right.
I'm a very patriotic person. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in following the rules and regulations. I'm I'm 76 years old, and I'll have to say, this past 3 years, I understand how repressed people feel, because we've been treated without respect. It's been an insult the way we're treated, and it's certainly against what we're taught as Americans about due process and the people being in control instead of the politicians. The control has flowed down. We've had no opportunity to give information upward, and we have not been given information. If I would go any place and say that to the legislature, to the governor, anybody in the state of West Virginia.
This Board of Education has not done anything wrong. All we did wrong is try to do something for the students. That's all we've ever done. And I did not run for Board of Education. I'm coming back, Mr. Tavano, if you're gonna stay, I want you to know that in 10 years. But the whole point is, look at him, look at his face. He said, oh, you don't want her. But what I'm saying, I'm all for the students. Everybody knows that. Tommy was one of my students. He can tell you it's the that we're for. Every one of us are for the students. That's our thing. But I don't like being a puppet. So I've decided to go another way and fight in a different direction. And I'll be glad to give $5,000 to the lawyer. You know.
Well, you know, Phyllis, I hear continually in Charleston from people I respect that Gilmer County has one of the best educated boards of any county in the state. And, you know, and we certainly haven't been egotistical about it, but we do understand a little bit about education. I'm not sure I understand from where I started exactly where we are now. I think we've got some problems, but those are problems that we can work on. I think any problem can be addressed. If you want, you're suggesting that we put that on an agenda for the next board
Right,
meeting.
just to discuss. I mean, I pointed some views that I have, but maybe the public has more. Maybe you have different views altogether. But I think it needs to be discussed. We're at the point where we really need to stop this type of thing that's happening.
Well, Phyllis,
I mean,
the
15
problem,
years from Mingo County, my goodness.
the problem is that we have so politicized education from top to bottom. Almost every decision is a political decision. I understand politics. I don't like politics, but every decision becomes a political decision, and that's where we've gotten, and it's unfortunate. Carl?
I do a lot of reading. I talk to a lot of people. I'm normally a real quiet person, but I do listen.
It's a
And
problem.
I cannot find out definitive information for any takeover county in West Virginia where the state has gone in and improved the school system. It seems as if the emphasis is on building new schools,
Consolidation.
spending a lot of money, no bid contracts, and there's absolutely no oversight at the local level. And I think I could probably take the information that's available with takeover county discussions, information, and mount a pretty good argument for that. Okay, what are we going to do? We can't do anything that's happened about what's happened.
I'd like
We're
to
at a
say,
new point that we can turn a new page and try to
And
do
try to do
what's right,
something.
what's honest, what's transparent.
which we've always
Yeah.
done.
Well, the one thing we could do that would help us do that is to get declared an innovation zone as a county. That would give us some room. That would free us from some of the really petty restrictions that we all face. You talk to the average good teacher and they say, I wish I could teach. I wish I had room to teach. And we have some ideas that I think could make us a good school system. Where we've gotten ourselves, we've tied our hands, tied our ankles, we've tied our minds, we have tied ourselves trying to find answers, and we've got people who have a lot of ability and they have a lot of vision and insight if we can turn them loose and let them be good teachers and let good principals be innovative. That's not where it is, from the principal to the teachers. That's where education takes place, in those classrooms. we're sort of accessories after the fact, but yet what we do is important. I think that may be a shot we have, and I know Chuck Heinlein has encouraged us. I have encouragement from Howard O'Call. When the time is right, we need to go forward as a county and say, look, we are coming out of intervention. We have a chance for a new beginning. Hey, let us try something. Let us try to be a model in this state. And if we can't do it, take us to the woodshed, but give us a chance to do it.
Mr. Simmons, for the last 2 years, I've asked that question, why we couldn't be a zone, why we couldn't do these things. I did not get one of you to say, hey, let's do it, let's try it. I mean, but I've asked over and over again, let's do one of the zones. I've even suggested things like when we have snow days, that we be a zone that would actually transfer by network the kids' classes and things. I even gave suggestions, but I couldn't get anybody to listen. That's
Well,
why I'm leaving.
And Phyllis, we talked here today about our needs in basic math and English. There would be a good place for us to start and say, all right, we know what we got to do up through the 3rd grade. Now, what are we going to do between 3rd grade and 7th and 8th grade to make sure that our students meet the expectations in reading and writing and mathematics, basic mathematics? There would be a place for us to start. I don't have the answer, but golly, we've got some teachers out here. If we get them together, they'll figure out some better ways than what we're doing. But we have to be free to do it. Well, we could go on. I think this is good. I think what
Just
we're...
have one more thing to say. I wanted to say to Mr. Devana, Gilmer County had 5 high schools. We consolidated to 1. Nobody made us. We had 21 elementary schools. We consolidated to 4. Then we decided we were going to run a bond and consolidate to 2.5 and go in with Gilmer County having the Troy School, because we couldn't give our students away because we didn't have enough in the formula to give Lois County our students, but Lois County could do it. We did that without anybody pressuring us at all. And all I want to say to you is, good luck, and I'll be glad to help you do anything for the students in this county that I could possibly have. But I want you to know, we've already done everything that they're trying to make us do now. We do not want 85 acres of property for a 10-acre elementary school. We don't want the majority of the people, and I will be running a petition for the public myself, because I'll be off the board then, that we do not want the high school put completely over there, that we have to even go farther to the career center, that we can't come up here and use the football field and the baseball field. We got 14 buses. That's all we have. They have to take the kids home. We can't run all of our players over here to use all these fields, and we cannot afford to put money into fields and tracks and everything over there. We're just too small. We're going to lose at least 100 students to Lois County. We're not going to have that money. When it's went from 50 to 20, 25, and we're not going to have the 1,400. We're in dire need, and we cannot support ourselves.
I'd like to say one thing. That's it. I read the audit report. I read it very carefully. I read it 2 or 3 times. I can't deny that some problems existed here. But I'll tell you one thing. This is the only county that was taken over in the state of West Virginia for which warning was not given to correct the problems. And the state rushed in and precipitously seized the school system. It was done purely for politics. When Dr. Simmons was hired, there were certain people in this town who said he will not serve a day. And it's a plutocracy. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of influence. And this small group of people caused this misery to be visited upon the county. That's my opinion. And that's an opinion I think it prevails throughout this county.
Good luck.
Okay, Tom?
Back on, my concern is back on the policies. If everyone, if all of us, maybe would make 2 lists. The policies that you don't have a problem with, and then the problems that the policy that maybe you have a question with.
Good suggestion.
And then
Yeah, that's
we'll
good.
end
That's a
up,
good suggestion.
Good suggestion.
maybe we could end up with a short list.
You're still going to have a work session that I keep asking for to do it.
Right.
If we could do that, we might end up with a short list that we need a workshop for, just for that
And there
short
may only
list.
be a
Yeah,
handful.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't want us approving or disapproving policies and not knowing which ones specifically that we had a problem with. That's, okay, let's move on then to item 8 on our agenda, delegations, and number 1, Norma Hurley.
And praise the Lord, pass the ammunition. I'm glad to finally, this is the best meeting I've heard in over 2 years. I'm glad to hear some speaking for the community. I'm glad to hear some honesty about what's been going on. I hope it continues. Mr. Blankenship, I don't know if you're going to be staying as that consultant or not. I heard rumor, but as Mr. Devano proved, rumor is exactly that. So I'm going to ask you in this last meeting, will you please give this board the transportation count of the number of students from Sand Fork and Troy who will be attending the Lewis County School? It's not only important for the parents to know, but the budget. You know, we received less than 50% of the differential from the school aid in the 1400 this year. It was 44.5%, 44.51. Less than half of that next year, and 0 the following year. There's no time like right now to know how much money you're going to have within a year, with the reduction coming on and how many students are going to get, roughly paid for. They need that number. The board needs to know. The parents should know because all their children will have to be getting up earlier and getting home later. And it's going to affect major things in their life as far as jobs, babysitters, things of that nature. But right now the board needs to know because this budget is going downhill quickly, and especially with the new capital projects fund, it's getting quickly to 0, and if they don't know in the future, we cannot determine the best, what we can afford. We just can't determine it. So please give that number before you go out the door, because to my knowledge, no one has it. I've heard a catchphrase. There's been a lot of good things said here today, but I've heard a catchphrase that really disturbs me. And this catchphrase has been principled closed-door meetings. I'm not condemning anyone. I'm not going to point any fingers. All I can say is this. Any person who speaks representing the Board of Education should be speaking for all 5 members. All 5 members should be apprised of any meeting, any discussion, and have a general consensus, whether it be unanimous vote, majority, whatever is legal, but all 5 members should know before anything is discussed with the superintendent, before anything is discussed, that starts with, I represent the Gilmer County Board of Education. And I would just ask that that really be taken into consideration, as Dr. Armour said so eloquently, accountability, transparency. We can't have it enough. If we do not have it among ourselves, then we can't be asking the state for it. And the board has to stand together. It has to stand united. This county depends on this board. People did not elect board members to have them sit silently. So, that's my whole big spiel tonight. Mrs. Starkey, we'll miss you. But I know you'll be back, and I know you're not going anywhere.
And Mr. Blankenship, please don't applaud.
No standing
All right.
ovation over there, Mr.
No standing
Blankenship.
ovation.
I'm gonna look right here.
Well,
And we look forward to seeing you in delegation, I'm sure.
Oh, you know.
Okay. And
All right,
Mr. Blankenship, it's been a trip. I'm sure that we're going to continue in some way to see each other in this life. I don't anticipate you're just going to fade away into the sunset.
I hope
All I-
so.
As I told the state board,
All
let's
right,
just remember, may I say one thing, Bill? As I told the state board at the last 2 meetings I've been at, remember this much, Gilmer County will move forward. No matter what happens, no matter what position we're in, the people of Gilmer County will move forward and their children will be cared for. So, you can work with us and you can work against us, but these kids will not suffer much longer. Thank you.
Dave Ramazan.
I just want to make a suggestion. Mr. Stern was here in several meetings back, and one of the points he made was about so much fun that they were going to all the different technical schools they were gonna use for advertisement on TV. Good, great. I see the advertisement right now on TV. I think it's a wrong time. I think they need to kind of hold off the advertisement and start it when it gets close. Because, kids just got off of school, the last thing they want to hear is the school. So you just waste the money, So
What he's
he-
trying to get is the adult population.
Yeah, but even adults,
Is what he's
you
trying to
got
find.
3
For the
months
summer.
before they can register and start.
No, he can have summer school. That's what he's trying to get some.
But they can't have summer school?
Yes, they can, if they get
Okay,
enough.
yeah,
yes.
if they can have that, then that's fine.
Yeah, that's
See, I
why
didn't
they're
know
doing
that.
it.
Yeah, okay.
That's what
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what he's hoping that
Yeah.
it will do.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, all right, Gabe Devon.
I just want to say, this is going to be a challenge. First of all, I know you talk about the students, that's the number one priority that I'm going to bring it to. I'm going to provide the technical assistance and the support to the staff, and also to both service and professional, to continue the excellent education that you talked about in this county. On the first day of opening school, I will speak to the teachers and administrators and tell them the same thing. That's the priority. As you talk about the board members and everything else like that, there'll be nothing secret. My door is always open. If you have a question or concern, you come in. But when you speak as an individual, not for the same board. The only time the board speaks is when you're all together at the same time as a board. So there'll be no secret stuff. But if I want to take Tom out to dinner or lunch, I think I should have the right to take him out and talk to him.
Well, just as long as you bring
Same
back
thing
leftovers.
with lunch, when you take me to lunch and you pay for it, then we'll talk with different things. But that's not as a board member, but the only time we talk as a group is when we're here as a group and ask questions and concerns. One thing, and I'll tell you right now, my biggest goal is right now, this time next year, I can tell you you're off the state takeover list. I told the state board that's what I want. And I said I want to work with them, plus this board, plus the citizens of this county, and also to work with the staff and everything to get us off the state takeover list. Somebody looks at that could be your job. If that's the case, then that's fine. I did what I'm supposed to do to get you off the state takeover list. That's one of the major goals that I want to. But to do that, I gotta work with you all. You gotta have your cooperation. I know you're frustrated, like some of the stuff that you said about being frustrated and things like that. I can understand that. But right now, that's the past. And I think Mr. Sims and I think you all said, let's start now and move forward. We just need to move forward right now. We're on the takeover list. They're gonna dictate to us, and we'll just have to take it and move on. The policies, I can understand your frustration. At the RESA level, we do the same thing with policies. If it's going to policy, it's going to affect all 12 counties. We gather people from all 12 counties that come in and do a skeleton, goes back, and then you put in what you deserve, thing like this. A work session, when you meet in the 7th, I already had mine make 2 work sessions in July. We can sit down and make one of them and do the policies. And you can bring, like Tom said, we'll take these that you want to do, that you know have no problem, and these we'll do like that. I have no problem have a work session with you all on the policies and things like that. Some of y'all's suggestions that you talked was really great. I know you're frustrated. I know you want to get in touch with the Attorney General, and I know you want to do all that. But it's in state code. The state has the right to do this and everything else like this. Let's just move on. Okay? That's my concern. You want to write the letter? I'm all for it. So we'll get a good interpretation. And I
That's all
know
I'm
that,
asking for is an opinion.
and I,
Opinion.
yeah, and that's fine. And I know that there's some things that's made, and I know Mr. Blankenship, there's some things that we were told not to say, and it bothered both of us not to say it, but it's not going to happen anymore. Of course, that was with my appointment coming over here. In April, we knew this was going to happen, and we were told not to say anything, which we thought was unfair.
It's very unfair.
But that's neither here, that's the past. July 1st is a new beginning for us. I look forward to working with you 5, with the staff that they have. let's just move forward and go on and for state takeover, there's not much we can do about it. If you want clarification, I'll ask somebody from the state to come up, sit down and say what you can prove budget-wise and what you can't prove budget-wise. We'll do it that way too, but we'll ask for them to come up and sit down and talk to us.
See, I don't have that defeatist attitude that there's nothing we can do about it. I'm a person that thinks there's something you can do about everything if you really try.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's try it and let's get off of it.
And we
Let's
can
get off
do
state
it
takeover.
the principled way, or we can do it another way. And from what you say, I'll take you at face value, you're gonna take the principled approach.
Mhm.
And that's all
That's all we've ever
can
done.
ask.
But I also want your input and ideas too. And if we can do it, we'll do it. If we can't do it, we won't do it. But the final decision, what we wanna do is gonna come on me because I'm the one that's gonna take the slack if we do something we're not supposed to be doing. Okay, or if we do something that's right, I'll take the blame, accept the credit for that too. Agreeable? Thank
Fair
you.
enough, fair
Can
enough.
I say one thing?
Okay.
Is there anybody else on delegations at this point?
What's
Is
that?
there anyone else on delegations?
No.
We have to go get them out of the hallway.
Okay, well, I just want to say one thing, that I'm gonna miss Phyllis. I am. She knew me whenever I was a parent. She knew me when I hadn't even come on this board. And, she worked alongside of me, her and Leon, digging ditches, laying pipe, pouring sidewalks. And, some people don't understand her, don't get her, but I certainly do. And you know what? This board is gonna miss her. The kids of this county are gonna miss her. Because you know, whenever we would do our walkthroughs, it's really easy to be mesmerized by big presentations and fancy, flip charts and this, that, and the other. We can all be mesmerized by the teachers and their spiels, and that's all great and wonderful, and I love to hear from them. But you look around and you'll miss Phyllis, and where Phyllis will be, she'll be in the corner with the kid. I'm gonna tell you that is so important for a Board of Education to have someone that is truly focused on that. And I'm gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss her terribly, because I think she has been a huge asset to the board and to the community, and I just didn't want to go without acknowledging that, because she's done a lot for this county and not had enough thanks for it.
Well, thank you, Phyllis, on behalf of the board.
Yes.
And Ron, thank you. There are no easy jobs, regardless of where you sit. That much I do know, and it's easy to sit at a vantage point and assume that someone else is making a lot of decisions that they don't have to make. But whenever you sit on a lot of sides of an issue, you see everything depends on perspective, and everyone has a perspective. And Ron stepped into something that was not easy. In fact, I looked at it and I thought, only a crazy person would do this.
I think you're right.
And it has not been easy, Ron. I know that. I've been there, but I also pledged that I was not going to be an impediment to what he needed to do. So there are things I would have done differently, you would have, but we're here now, and I think that's it's a credit to everyone. We have come a long ways as a board. And Mr. Devano, there's nothing in this world, in this state, that travels like a secret. I knew in April too. All right, do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Stand adjourned.
Can I get with you guys before you leave? Wait, 1 second.
Pretty simple. How you doing?